break the silence. In the depths of silence, a voice emerges. A voice that says, "You are not alone." Welcome to Survivor, where strength rises through shared stories, where pain transforms into resilience, where survivors connect and empower each other. Your story matters. Your voice matters. You matter. Join the movement. Subscribe now. Welcome to Survivor. Survivor.
Welcome to another episode of Survivor. This is where we speak honestly from one survivor to another and answer the questions that weigh heavy on your heart. So today's letter really hit home for me and for many here at the organization. So if you ever have struggled with how faith and abuse intersect, especially when it comes to divorce, this one is definitely for you. So we received a letter that said, "Dear Survivor, I left my abusive husband almost a year ago. The emotional and verbal abuse turned physical, and I knew I had to get out for safety for myself and for my children. But now I'm being told by some people at my church that because I have divorced him, I'm living in sin. They say God hates divorce, and that unless he cheated on me, I should have stayed. I feel torn. I love God, and I want to do what is right, but I also know that what I went through was soul crushing and dangerous. Can God still love me after this? Did I go against his will? Sincerely conflicted." So, the first thing I want to say from one survivor to another, right? I want to tell you how proud I am of you. You made a life-saving decision, and it takes real strength to do that. And no, you are not outside of God's love. In fact, what you did was more in line with God's heart than what many churches have sadly been teaching. So let's look at some scriptures. Often people throw scriptures at survivors like us, right? God hates divorce. That comes from Malachi 2. But what it really says is the Lord is a witness between you and the wife of your youth, and you have been unfaithful to her, though she is your partner. So guard yourself in spirit and do not break faith with your wife. So in the original Hebrew, that passage isn't like about divorce itself, right? Is about treachery and violence. In fact, some of the translations say the man covers his garment with violence. It's not condemning a woman for escaping that harm. It's condemning a man for betraying and hurting the one he vowed to protect. And then if you go to Exodus 21, which outlines a woman's right to food, clothing, and marital love, right? If a husband withholds those basic needs, the Bible says she's free to go. That word in Hebrew means release, a type of freedom. That word was used when the captives were released from Egypt. So yes, God gave women recourse. And when Jesus spoke in Matthew 19, he was pushing back, right, against casual, selfish divorces. Men who would throw away their wives without a reason or for younger women, and he was protecting women, not trapping them. The Greek word used to validate the reason to leave was porneia, which covers a wide range of deep covenant violations, and not just sexual ones, and not just adultery. So, if you do a real deep, in depth study of that word in the original language, you can see that. And from 1 Corinthians 7:15, Paul says, if a spouse abandons you in spirit, love, or physically, you are not enslaved. And the Greek word is clear here, its meaning. You are free. So here's the truth. You didn't break God's heart by leaving your abuser. Your abuser did that when they broke covenant, when he chose control over care and harm over love, right? God does not ask you to suffer in his name. He calls himself a refuge for the oppressed. He tells us he's near the brokenhearted and he frees the captives. So you didn't walk away from God, you walked toward him. And he was already walking with you. So, if you're listening right now, you have a question burning in your heart, whether it's about faith, healing, the justice system, right, or surviving the aftershocks of abuse, I want to hear from you. This segment exists because survivors deserve answers rooted in truth, compassion, and who have lived the experience. Send your questions to podcast@breakthesilencedv.org. And remember, God doesn't side with abusers. He stands with the brokenhearted, the brave, the ones who choose freedom. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are loved. Until next time, take care of yourself, survivors.